Okay, Prof. Good evening, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Literary Hour. I'm your co-host Jackie Sai, and with me, as always, is Professor K. Moses Nagbe. Hi, Prof.
Good evening. How you all doing? Glad to be here.
I hope you all are having good weather. It's been very hot and then very extremely cold here. So I guess I
It's,
guess
it's hot at my end in Maryland.
hmm, the weather is schizophrenic now.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it
So
is.
so as we posted, we're going to be discussing Ayekwe Ama's "The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born." Hey, Prof, remember that book?
Yes, the beautiful ones are not yet born.
Yeah,
We
and
have
and
to
I
wait for so many generations to have that happen. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that it's a very it's a very interesting book. I I had to turn everything off when I was reading it. It's a very introspective book, well, before we start, Prof and I, we decided that we're going to tell you a little bit about Ayekwe Ama, because usually we don't talk about the writer of the book. We only introduce people who have written books and they've come on. But Ayekwe Ama is a Ghanaian novelist, essayist, and he deals with problems of what nationhood, pride, and corruption, right, Prof? Yeah, and he was born in Ghana. He went to Prince of Wales College, now known as Achimota School. I'm reading it from Wiki. He won a scholarship to study in the United States, where he was in Groton, Massachusetts, and then he got his bachelor's degree at Harvard, a degree in sociology, and he moved to Algeria. He worked as a translator. Between 1967 and 68, he was editor of Jeune Afrique magazine. Prof, remember Jeune Afrique?
I don't know how it's proven that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he studied at Columbia, obtaining his Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. And then in the 1970s, he worked as a teacher in East Africa at the College of National Education. He taught at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, Cornell University, and at the University of Wisconsin at Madison. He has lived in Senegal, Dakar, Senegal, since the 1980s. And in the village of Pompenquin, he established his own printing house, the African Publication Collective, through which his own books are now available. So that's a little bit about Ayekwe Ama.
Yeah.
And we're going to be discussing The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born, situated in post-independence Ghana. Yes. So yes, Prof. So we're on it. Like I said, unlike, I guess, Ant Hills of the Savannah, Achebe's book, where there's a lot of dialogue, there are a lot of discussion. This book is a very dense book. When I say dense, I mean there are texts where there's no dialogue. So in that style of writing, I see that um, reading his work, reading this book, it makes you think a lot, because this is almost like a conversation within yourself. Yeah, it makes you question things. Yeah. So, Prof, we're on.
Yeah, indeed. It's a lot of editorializing. Uh, just again, it requires a little more focus for you to make sure that you don't lose sight of any detail that the writer is throwing right in front of you. We have the man, we have the teacher, uh, which brings in this whole idea of something allegorical.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think here we've talked about allegory for a while, even talking about the myth of Sisyphus, talking about Godot, waiting for Godot, and all those. So by now, the concept of allegory should be well at home with all of us. Some abstract idea or concept that represents something deeper for which we have to kind of find meanings or connections to be able to understand what is going on in the man, as we will know or we might have known, talking about some people in the audience. Uh, the man is grappling with the whole idea of living some life of purity as far as interacting with societal resources and all those things are concerned. And whether he succeeds or doesn't succeed, uh, that becomes some part of the centrality of the book. Uh, One of the things, too, as we go through, we have to keep in mind is that of how do we deal with the ills of society? Do we approach the ills of society uh, singularly? In other words, do we do that only and only as individuals, or there has to be a consensus building? Without consensus building, are we to be successful? There are quite a number of questions that come up as we look at this book, and one of those is what I'm talking about. I see in recent times one of the presidential uh, potential presidential candidates back home is he has a broom as the symbol. Can you singularly do the sweeping? Can we do singularly sweep the place, or it's got to be a collective? So as we browse through, or as we begin to work our way through the book, some of the things we begin to think about.
And I think that Ayekwe Ama deliberately does not give a name to the main character. I think the man is every one of us. And if you read the book, you'll see that it's like this battle within us. I
Internal
would
struggle.
not say that the book is a Bildungsroman because I don't think he changes. I agree with you that it's an allegory, because the man, I mean, from the first, you see there's a battle going on, and we'll come to the language, but when at the beginning of the book, he's in the bus and he's sleeping. Of course, he's drooling and sleeping. And it's almost comical when the bus driver is trying to steal money, right? The bus driver is counting and he's trying to see what he can get away with. And then he sees this guy seemingly looking at him, and of course, what he says, "Well, like the message, I've seen you, we have seen you, we've seen it all." So of course, then he starts to insult the man, only to find out that he's sleeping. But but it's I think that incident, it foretells the man as an onlooker. True, there's a battle within, but there's also this, I would say, there's almost detached looking at people who are succumbing to the corruption that's in the world. And it's interesting. I mean, we're going to delve deep into the corruption aspect, but it's interesting to note that the corruption is not just confined to the big people. It permeates every aspect of life. So Ayekwe Ama, I think he has a knack of not only writing about the corruption, but asking the questions that we ourselves are asking. You know,
What can we do about it?
yeah, yeah. What do we do
Can
about
we
the
do
corruption?
something
Yeah,
about it? Can we?
yeah. What do we do about it? So I think that he asked these questions, and truly, um, it is a battle within that
It's
he's doing.
the answers are elusive. The answers are elusive, especially when you pit the man against the teacher
Hmm.
who might have somehow provided some illumination into the rather vexing question
Yeah,
of what do we do about corruption and all this? What do we do to ensure the stability of moral rectitude?
yeah, yeah,
And sadly, the teacher who, within the context of wiseness, would kind of provide some answers, throws up his hands as well. He had been uh, a generation of activists leading to the independence in the country, in the Ghana, in the Republic of Ghana. He finds himself again morally paralyzed.
yeah. He seems almost, I wouldn't say disillusioned, but you're right, morally paralyzed.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
it and again it's a sad it's a sad phenomenon where you've done all your struggle, and at a point you thought it would pay off. It turns out that the activism comes virtually to nothing.
yeah,
And you then, against what you say earlier, you then become an onlooker.
yeah,
I've tried all I could. I've tried all. And, the question is, what do I do next? I cannot do anything about it.
yeah. So for
Yeah,
those who have not read the book,
yeah.
like Prof and I were discussing a few minutes ago, the man, because he's not given a name by Ayekwe and Ama, it's only the man, and the man is living in a Ghana that just got its independence, and the government is made up of Ghanaians now, not the white Europeans, but Ghanaians.
Mhm.
And so the man is working in the railway yard,
Yeah, he's
but
a
he
clerk.
sees that nothing has changed.
Yes.
So in the book, he's meeting all these people who strongly believe that corruption should continue. Or in fact, it should be intensified. It should, that it's a way of life. They call it a national game. And even his wife, his mother-in-law, his friends, they are all saying to him, why are you not benefiting from this? And
What's
the
wrong?
book is really a book that asks the question, as a person who's trying to do the right thing, what benefit is it to you if your family is saying, but why can't you just steal some money? If your friends are saying, but look how the life we're living and look at the life you're living. So it is, in fact, he even mentions the myth of Sisyphus in this book. But it is, how do you navigate this corruption to be able, in fact, one of the questions he said, surely something could still be done by a good man. So it's almost a cry for to say there is another way other than corruption. But stay with us and follow us, like we say, on this journey to see how the man navigates this corrupt landscape and how the book ends. Yeah, yeah,
And the thing about it, one of the disturbing things I find about the book, with all the lofty question or questions posed, is that of Here is a single gladiator.
Yes,
Yes, it's a single gladiator against a multitude.
yes,
Against a multitude. And could it not have been made better if you had a group equally matching what is uh, uh, kind of revealing itself in this post-independent African nation? One person. Yes, it is said sometimes that sometimes a an individual is a multitude. But in the case where a system is entrenched, what can one person do? Especially so, here is a railway clerk. He's in a government institution that deals with timber.
yeah,
You know, there is a scene where a fellow who is called Amankwa.
yeah, he
uh,
comes in. Yeah,
Amankwa, he comes in complaining that his uh, logs are rotting, and can someone do something about it? And since he tries patience and patience cannot work, he comes in with a bribe, and the man, being who and what he's always been, he refuses to even look the way of Amankwa. And to the man's own disillusionment and kind of sorrow and what have you, Amankwa passes and goes to other employees over there, and he does his deal cutting. The next time he comes, he still wants to get the man to have a little call and say, well, it's like, look, I've got something for you. Why would
and
you
he is
come?
surprised. He is surprised
Yeah.
when I mean, he actually he said, "Oh, you're still here,"
Yes.
and because he asked him, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
I mean, he was quite shocked. And one in that scene, one of the things I noticed is that the guy who mops the floor, the
Yeah.
custodian,
Yeah.
the custodian is sweeping very softly.
Yeah.
I think one of two things: either the custodian was shocked
Yeah.
that the man did not take the money,
Yeah.
or the custodian was waiting for his cut.
Yeah. Yes.
But the
Either
guy
would be
didn't.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, but the man didn't take the money. So of course the custodian didn't have any money that day. But he kept asking. Amankwa kept asking the man, "Why are you making things so difficult for
Yeah.
me?" And in fact, one of the things that's funny, I know, is that he asked the man, "What do you drink?" And the man said, "Water." And he started to laugh. So but that's just one of many instances. In fact, when the man got off the bus and he's walking and he saw the garbage cans,
Mm.
you know, and the garbage cans were there, but there was just filth all around. He said it was
Yes.
like
Yes.
the
Earlier, they had set these things up and they were looking clean and
yeah.
everything, only to find them, mess up soil and everything,
He
which
said the
is
filth
called,
had fused. The
yes,
filth has fused with the earth, and
yes,
that kind of imagery
mm,
brings up the fact that not only it has the filth fused with the earth, but the filth has also fused in the national fabric.
yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
in the
Again,
national fabric. Yeah,
the allegorical part of it, that's what
yeah,
is over there.
yeah,
And as you work your way through, these things are happening even with the guardrails rotten and all that. They try to pin them over, try to put varnish on them, what have you. And the idea is that even with the varnish, the rottenness is still there, and therefore nothing that they try to do to paper over certain things is not working at all. Nothing is
yeah.
working, you see.
Yeah.
So again, the allegorical image is flowing through the narrative of the book.
Yeah, and if you look at when he went home that day, I think that it's true that the book focuses on the man, but Ayekwe Aman gives a lot of attention to the motives of the family in wanting the man to be corrupt.
Yeah.
Because when he goes home, he tells his wife,
Ah, yeah,
oh,
yeah,
somebody tried to bribe me today, and I said no, and the
yeah.
woman
What did
got
he do?
Oyo. Oyo got so angry. She said,
Yeah,
"You
yeah.
like onward Christian
So
soldiers
yeah, yeah,
marching on to war."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
That's, and at some point one has to pity his condition because he doesn't have an army with which he goes to battle.
Yes, yes,
And that's what I said earlier, that to have this one person
yes.
facing, a multitude of people is rather unfair.
And
You know,
the
yeah,
ease with which corruption happens.
yeah,
It's like the entire everybody he meets, with the exception of the teacher,
yes,
and I think Kofi Bele.
yeah, yeah. Kofi
Yeah,
Bele, those are,
but
yeah, yeah,
apart from that,
mhm,
everybody
yeah,
expects it.
mhm,
This is a national game. This
mhm.
is a nation's game.
Yeah.
Corruption.
What's
You,
wrong with you?
yeah,
Yeah,
what's
what's
wrong with
wrong
you?
with you?
I mean, even his wife
Hmm.
makes fun of him. And then and
Mother-in-law.
yeah, yeah. The
That's a
mother-in-law
fighting
hates
one.
him. The mother-in-law says her daughter is suffering under this man. She hates him. Yeah, and not only that, but also remember when he was going he met his friend who was in school, and the
Yeah,
friend is now
yeah.
uh um uh
Minister plenipotentiary.
oh yes.
Yeah,
so
Joseph Thompson.
when he's
Joseph Thompson.
describing the man,
Yeah.
the teacher says to him, "You cannot describe the man naked, right?"
Yes.
So he said, oh, what is he said his name is His Excellency Joseph Compson, Minister Plenipotentiary,
This one.
member of the Presidential Council,
Yeah.
hero of socialist labor.
Hmm.
That's the man's title.
Mind you, before this time, he was a dock worker.
Yes,
He was a dock worker
yes,
who was, through his own activism,
yes,
who was elevated to the point of the huge titles that attached to his name.
yeah,
You know, his wife Estella can't drink local liquor. Uh, everything must be what? Everything must be imported,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that even once when uh, Compson and the wife visit the home of the man, uh, whatever little that he can gather together, he gathers it together to entertain his honorable guests and what have you.
yeah,
They buy a local liquor, and Estella puts some in her mouth and she pukes.
yeah. She pukes. But when he goes to the teacher, because I have the book here. When he goes to the teacher,
Mhm.
and he's saying to the teacher, he's surprised that his wife is so mad. She called him Chichi Dodo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes,
Chichi Dodo.
the bird that is interested in the maggots
Yeah, but
of
doesn't want to know where
other,
it comes from.
yeah, that's not where it comes from.
Yeah, and so he tells her, and I'll read this little bit. He says,
Yes, please go
I,
ahead.
I I told her what happened at work today. A man came to me with a bribe, and teacher says to him, "A murderer that you are, you let it go." And he said, "I let it go." Then teacher says to him, "You expect no forgiveness from your family then." And the man said, I understand you with my mind, but people want so much. And then teacher says to him, they want what they see others enjoying. That is all. And the man says to teacher, and it doesn't matter how they get it.
Mhm.
And teacher says to him, it doesn't matter. There are ways and ways. You, the husband, will have to find these ways. It is very simple, isn't it? And the man says so to the teacher, you know that in the end there is only one way for people like us. And then the teacher said, well then. And he said, well then what? He said, are you surprised when your people are angry with you for not taking the one way open to them? Then he says that one way is a path you want to avoid. And the guy says, they will destroy me, teacher.
And
Yes.
again, you can even see a Socratic rendering.
Yeah.
The Socratic
Yes.
rendering of
Yes. Yes.
where it's more of a give and take as far as questions and answers are concerned. It's
Yes.
more of the reflection
Yes.
that
Yes.
is poignant in terms of brings clarity to what is happening over there, and yet the solution is out there, and one has to pick it up if one chooses to be
And
able.
the interchange between the two of them, question leads to question,
Yeah,
to answer to question.
yeah,
Because he says, what I don't understand,
mm,
I'm reading here, is my own feeling about it. I know I have done nothing wrong. I could even get angry with Oyo about this, and yet, I am the one who feels strange.
yeah,
And then the teacher said, the condemned man, he said, yes, I feel like a criminal.
yeah.
Often these days, I find myself thinking of something sudden I could do to redeem myself in their eyes. And then I sit down and ask myself, what have I done wrong? And there is really nothing. And the teacher says to him, you have not done what everybody is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And in this world, that is one of the crime. So the man is totally confused.
Yes, you see, and again, that's it's introspection is this whole idea of not, in a sense, being sure of yourself.
Yes.
So
Yes.
again, that brings in the dilemma of the whole thing. What am I doing wrong? What did I do wrong? And then
Yes.
of course, it's the idea again of not being sure of himself.
And I find their dialogue so rich, with meaning, even for today's world.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a book that is for
It's when
today.
you talk about classic now, that is that
Yes.
is that is that is a classic. It's gone through several generations, and yet it is also very timely. That
Yeah.
reminds me, of course, it's a little off tangent, but the other day, normally when April is coming or April is already here, uh, there is a group, a bipartisan group in Congress that attempts to awaken the spirit of uh, Dr. King towards working together and what have you. And they read his entire letter, which is letter from a Birmingham jail.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and the power of the words in that letter come alive. Uh, the whole idea of the meaning of working together to keep society going. You can see almost a similar fashion when you are reading the words, the dialogue between teacher and the dialogue between teacher and the man.
Yeah.
What is happening? What can we do about it? We find ourselves paralyzed. Can we do something? But what are we doing wrong? With all those things, again,
Yeah.
they've got to engage us. They've got to engage us to ask ourselves the question, what can we ourselves doing? What is happening? How can we ourselves play a part that is redemptive as opposed to joining a corrupting system, a corrupting era? We have to keep in mind also that this novel takes place within the context of the 1960s,
Yes.
when many, or as well several African nations were becoming independent. First, Ghana came out 1957, and then later you have Guinea and a few others. And the euphoria of independence is almost immediately marred by the distracting vices that kind of destroy the joy of independence that would have kind of lifted the African continent to a better place. Unfortunately, uh, the eyes are diverted from uh, the uh, the virtues that are supposed to find a centerpiece in nation building. Corruption is kind of destroying the whole system of hope.
And this book is very interesting because he goes into great depth to discuss the allegory of the cave. He explains it in the book on page 92. He explains it in the book. Um, yeah. He talks about Kofi Belly. He talks
Yeah,
about the people who comes out of the cave and who
yeah,
goes back in.
yeah,
But he also sees the problem or the tragedy of the Ghanaians who went to fight in the war
yeah,
and who returned to families that were broken.
yeah,
So they're there too. And then there's one place he said, is the stifled cry not also life? I find a lot of beauty in the language,
yeah,
that he reads. But there's one where I try to put on the PowerPoint. My PowerPoint, like I said, crashed, but it sums up the Ghanaian nation at the time.
yeah,
Yeah, it's this one, and I will try to be brief. That's why I had it on the PowerPoint. He says, here, it is not true at all that when men are desperate, they will raise their arms and welcome just anybody who comes talking of their salvation. If it had been so, we would have been following the first men who came offering words and hidden plans to heal our bodies and soul. We did not run out eager to follow anyone. But then he says, how long will Africa be cursed with its leaders?
mm,
There were men dying from the loss of hope. We were ready here for big and beautiful things, but what we had was our own black men hugging new punches, scrambling to ask the white man to welcome them onto our backs, right? And then he says, there is something so terrible in watching a black man trying at all points to be the dark ghost of a European. And that was what we were seeing in those days. Men who had risen to lead the hungry came in clothes they might have been hoping to use at a governor's ball on the birthday of the white people's queen, right? They came late and spoke to their servants in the legal English they had spent their lives struggling to imitate, talking of constitutions and offering us unseen ghosts of words and papers held holy by Europeans. And then they asked us to be faithful and to trust them. They spoke to us in the knowledge that they were our magicians, people with some secret power behind them. They were not able, in the end, to understand the people's unbelief. How could they understand that even those who have not been anywhere know that the black man who has spent his life fleeing from himself into whiteness has no power if the white master gives him none? How were these leaders to know that they were climbing up to the people's faces, the people had seen their backsides and drawn away in laughter? We knew then and we know now that the only real power a black man can have will come from black people. We knew also that we were the people to whom these men were looking for their support. Only they did not know this. In their minds, it was some great favor they were doing us, coming to speak to us in words designed not to tell us anything about ourselves, but to press into our minds the weight of things coming from them. They came hours late when we had been standing in the sun, waiting to hear what they had to say. They themselves had not finished. They came with nothing but borrowed words. They themselves had not finished understanding, and men felt like sleepers.
So
So he knows.
again, it's one of the sad things coming out of the narrative. It's not the narrative itself, but what it had to offer. Broken hope.
Yes.
Broken hope
Yeah.
is sometimes dangerous than no hope at all.
Yes.
You see, you and we all have seen. You see, go back to Liberia, for instance. Generations of administrators. What's happened in that country? And again, not we talk about Liberia, but it's come to a point where it is not Liberia alone. People. There is often in the banner you got out there, which talks about the festival of crazy joy,
Joy. Yes.
the
The
festival of
festival of
crazy
crazy joy.
joy.
Yeah.
One moment some group comes and there is this huge sanitized promise that things are going to go well, only to find the whole society plunging into something detrimental, something very disintegrating, and all that.
Yeah. And even talking about hope, this is like almost the last one I'm going to read, and then we can discuss it with
Yeah,
context of Liberia.
yeah.
But he says to the teacher, "You used to see some hope, teacher."
Uh-huh.
And the teacher says, "That was such a long time ago." And he says, "Not so long ago, 6 years." But listen to what the teacher said. Teacher said, "True, I used to see a lot of hope. I saw men tear down the veils behind which the truth had been hidden. But then the same men, when they had power in their hands at last, they began to find the veils useful. They made many more. Life had not changed. Yes, life gets very hard when veranda boys, veranda boys, so the boys who used to be on the porch,
Yes.
veranda boys are building palaces
Yeah.
in a matter of months. If you come near people here, they will ask you, "What about you? Where is your house? Where have you left your car? What do you bring in your hands for your loved ones? Nothing." Then let us keep quiet and not get close to these people. People will make you very sad that you do not have a house to make onlookers stumble with looking, or a car to make every walker know that a big man and his concubine have just passed. Let us keep quiet and wait. And then the man says to him, "Teacher, you know it is impossible for me to watch the things that go on and say nothing. I have my family. I am in the middle." And the teacher asked him, "Will you let yourself be destroyed first?" So that's the conundrum.
Now there are two. The passage you read
Yeah.
brings out two allusions, references. First, the Veranda Boys. At the beginning of the struggle for independence, those who were on the side of Nkrumah were labeled the Veranda Boys. They do nothings and what have you.
Yeah.
It was those Kofi Busher and the group out there who were a kind of people who had studied at Oxford and all those high-pitched or Ivy League schools and what have you. So the whole idea was that the Veranda Boys, the riffraffs, will somehow do something to a kind of elevate the hope that ordinary Ghanaians had. Another aspect of the illusion has to do again with animal farm.
Yes.
People
Yes.
set out things and what have you, and there was a set of things to aspire to and to aspire for, only to find out that when these guys got into office, unfortunately, all those things were thrown outside. All the high flowing language, the virtues and what have you, were thrown out of the window, and people got into a kind of swampy type of life and all that.
So in the book, although Ayekwe Ama talks about or writes about the Ghanaian post independence,
Yeah,
it's they are on the periphery. What is there is this 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 uh confrontation between the man and the people in his circle,
yeah,
right? His wife, the mother-in-law. Now let's look at the mother-in-law. So the mother-in-law is very interesting because of course she says that the man is suffering her daughter because her daughter is not living to the life to which she should be accustomed.
yeah.
So the man is suffering her daughter. Even when the man takes the children there, she treats him very badly
Mm.
because according to the wife and the mother feels like the wife should be living in luxury and the man should do everything that other people are doing. But the mother-in-law, sorry, the mother-in-law, it's very interesting to look at that little meeting with Compson.
Yeah,
So Compson is a friend of the man.
yes.
And the man said Compson was not a very brilliant man in school.
Uh-huh.
But
That's the
Compson,
painful part.
yeah, but Compson used to be a very good speaker.
Yeah.
But now we see Compson as the minister of plenipotentiary. He
Yeah.
got his girlfriend or his wife Estelle. And in fact, the man says that Compson's hands are very smooth for a man. All of those things. But when the man comes, the mother-in-law, she has great faith in Compson. She's gonna get her boat or her ship or
Yeah,
her
yeah. With the
canoe.
boat. Yeah,
The
yeah.
boat.
The boat. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Fancy
So,
canoe.
so, so she and Compson, they talk about her getting one of the boats because Compson was going to get a couple of boats.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, he was going to give her one, and she was going to sign and take possession of the boat, right? So even when he doesn't deliver, right? This old lady still thinks that, oh, it was just because higher ups were stopping him from getting what he was supposed to get.
Perception.
Yeah, so she still believes that if things were because he's saying that, oh, they are branding him a socialist,
Yes.
so he's not getting the things. But I guess in her disdain for her son-in-law and her admiration
Who comes in?
for Compson, there's nothing that shows that she admires this son-in-law who provides for her daughter, doesn't mistreat her daughter, but in her view, he's mistreating her daughter by not taking the bribe.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's opulence. The taste for opulence, the taste for materialism, overshadows, blinds her to whatever virtue that their son-in-law may have possessed and what have you. But of
yeah,
course, you have to on the day on the Sunday to go there to sign. All of a sudden, she's pricked by some conscience, so she doesn't go.
yeah. She doesn't go.
She, she doesn't go to the signing ceremony, and the son-in-law reflects a little on that. In fact, he doesn't sign himself. He said, "No,
Yeah,
you go ahead and sign your thing." So and so.
yeah. He doesn't sign.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
doesn't sign. What have you? They come home. Of course, he had told them. He had predicted what will happen. That this guy, he's trying to make you the front.
Yeah.
He's trying to make you the front, but you are not going to get anything out of it. Sure enough, after they sign, they do the ceremony. In fact, from there, they pass through the fishing village where he introduces the man and his wife as going to be those who are the owners of the boat.
Like money laundering.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the end of it, because the quantity and the quality of fish that should have been coming to them daily doesn't come.
Yeah.
Doesn't come. And the man is like, I told you so. And even that, the wife will not see the sense to say, this guy is using us. All right, say, well, look, if every day when you come from work, the fish that I cook, I don't care whether you admire the quality or whatever, the fish that I cook is from the canoe and what have you. And then the man is pissed off and says, and he says something like, then I will not eat that anymore if you are going to make it a way of rubbing it in my face.
Chichi dodo. Yeah,
Yeah.
but and let's look at the wife. You
Mm.
know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
wife. I mean, she takes every opportunity
Yeah.
to dig it on him
Yeah.
that she doesn't have a nice wig like
Yeah.
Estelle because
Yeah.
the guy doesn't want to take the bribe.
Yeah.
She tries to lie to the taxi driver that they are wealthy people, right? And when actually when they came to the meeting, when Compson and Estelle came to the man's house, he and his wife name is Oyo. When they came to their house, and they bought the cheap beer,
Yeah.
you know, I
Local
mean,
beer in fact.
so her entire demeanor and action was apologetic. When he says, "I want to go to the toilet,"
Yes.
and the man said, "We only have a latrine,"
Yeah.
and she's so embarrassed, and Estelle is shocked. But they comes in now. He wants to show that he's a man of the people.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I can go," even though he's shocked himself, But I think that oftentimes it's the actions of those that are near to the person who refuses to be compromised, right? It's like they are apologizing for the person, because that's what she was doing. Oh, we don't have this. I'm sorry, we don't have this, but we could have it if the man could take bribes. It's just that he doesn't want to take bribes. And so I mean, it's similar to, I would not even say just Africa, but is if somebody has a job, people feel that, I guess, the communal nature of some societies, that if you're working, you're there to take care of everybody. I mean, look at, was it Man of the People, the guy who stole the little money, right? Wasn't it a Man of the People?
If except you're talking about no longer at ease,
I mean,
Marco.
no longer at ease.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a little bit of money that he stole because he wanted to pay his rent, right? And this is what happened. So I guess when they say corruption is a national game, I think Amma is not just talking about Ghana, but he's talking about the plight of, because the plight of African leaders. Like he says, we are cursed with these leaders, because he says that, in fact, in one of his long pieces there, he said, it was not hate that these Ghanaian leaders had for the Europeans. It was love. Because if it wasn't love, how come they imitated them right away? They sent their children to international schools. They built big houses. In fact, they live life almost better than the Europeans that were there. So he was saying that, that's not, if you hate something, you will shun everything that has to do with that thing. But
Especially
because,
if it is destroying the new way of life and what have you,
yes,
that
but they didn't
had
do
hope.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do that. So because they didn't do that, they got They got shiny new cars,
Mhm.
and then people start asking you, where's your own house?
Yes.
So he said that it was love that propelled them. It was not hate. Yeah.
Again, love for material. It's not just love, but love for material things.
Love for
It's
material
it,
things. Yeah.
it's like let these guys get away and let us also get in and drink of this luxury that they
Yeah.
have around and what have you. So that's what it must have been and all that. This whole idea, I've got to the point of always talking about relevance now, where people uh, who are hungry to become relevant, to show off and what have you, they will fight tooth and nail to displace other people, only to demonstrate that they too are capable of or were capable of a kind of drinking deep into the opulence
The opulence.
that
Yeah.
one group had and making sure that they get off the stage and the new group go in there to do whatever they want to do. Something that is sadly uh, very, very much, has reached a vexing tension with respect to they did bad. We are going to do worse. We are going to do worse. They had their hands soiled with the gravy. We are even going to use three hands. And if three hands are not enough, we are going to get five more hands to get in. As long as whatever is coming out of it, that place is flowing into our barrel, flowing into our backyard and what have you.
He talked. One that's very funny was like we talk about Oyo, his wife. So she's combing her hair, right? She's using the pressing comb to comb
Mhm.
her hair, and he says to her that must be very painful. And Oyo answer him, of course it's painful. I'm just trying to straighten it out a bit now to make it presentable,
Hmm.
right? And then he says, what is wrong with natural? She said, it's only bush women who wear their hair natural.
Ah,
And he says to her, I wish you were a bush woman then, right? Then she said, you men are hypocrites, you are all the same. If I had a wig, there would be no trouble.
mhm.
And he answers her, if you had a wig, I would be in jail. And she says, what do you mean? He says, stealing by means of employment. She says, you talk so much of theft. He said, I know it's a national game, but I fear it still. Yeah. So let's come back to the man. This man is very interesting because why is it that he remains uncorrupted?
Yeah. Remain stoic. Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Why? What is there besides the teacher
Mhm.
that makes him unwilling to take this money, to take the money that is being thrown to him?
It's again, uh, we have to keep in mind now that this man and the teacher, they are allegorical.
Yes.
And in the case of the man, he represents uh, he represents the whole consciousness of society, the whole conscience of society, as far as representing that which people need to a kind of gravitate towards to sustain a strong and progressive society. And yet we see that it is not strong enough by virtue of the fact that there is not, again, we bring in the word the army to back him up. What battalion can he command? Surely it's not in his family. And if it is not in his family, then definitely it is like every move he makes, he gets a backstab. There is a backstabbing effect that kind of every now and then pulls him back. If only he had that battalion. So still, the strength he shows is what we can hope someone who is reading that book and tries as much as possible to want to represent something that is meaningful, something that is virtuous, is like even the Pilgrim's Progress and what have you. Here I am. I am fighting a lone battle. Who is there to come to my rescue? Who is there to come to my aid and what have you? There is nothing there. And yet it is taken to the conclusion. We come to a point of meaningful synthesis towards the end when the coup occurs.
Throw a monkey wrench in that one.
Yes.
I felt that, or I feel that that was too. It was too. The ending was too proper. Oh, the coup happened. Because okay, yes, the coup happened. And of course we want to discuss a little bit about it. But I think that the coup being thrown in, I think it was just a way to end the book. Do you know what I mean? I
It was
would
too
have liked,
abrupt, you
yeah, it
say?
was too abrupt an ending. I would have liked to have seen the man get into a real, what do you call it, kerfuffle,
Kerfuffle,
you
yeah, that's
know,
right.
so that he is able to, that he is forced, that he's forced so much, because he says in one of his his papers, he says, he talks about there are two types of men who take refuge in honesty, right? Cowards and fools. And he said, oh, I'm a combination of both,
Yeah.
right? So I would have liked to see which one would be paramount if they had presented him with something so great,
Yeah.
knowing how Oyo disdains him, his mother-in-law dislikes him, his kids are suffering, and all of these. I wanted to see. But interestingly now, okay, so there's the coup. And when a coup happens, Mr. Compson, the honorary plenipotentiary, is in a pickle because he hides in the man's house,
Yeah.
right? Because they're looking for him. Yeah.
Now, while we might think that the subject of the coup is abrupt, there is a book that I just took, which is titled "The Quiet Before."
Yeah. Oh, actually, I have it.
Yes, The
Yes.
Quiet Before.
They're quiet before.
Yeah, which the thesis of that book is that the revolutions that we see happen,
Yes.
they are not sudden.
Yeah, they're not certain.
Before they come in, so many whispers in here and there, and little comical things go on. All those preparing the society or the larger group for the massive watershed.
Yeah.
So in the case of the coup, there had been rumblings, there had been whispers here and there, and what have you. There had been a kind of cries, complaints, and what have you. So by the time this coup erupts, one who had been a watcher of society was able to say, well, it's what? It had to be the expected outcome of all these rumblings that had been going on. So that is where I see that well, it was, and also to a kind of take those who thought this opulence would never have an end, take them unawares and kind of deal them a blow. Look at what Compson came in fluttering like a feather, fluttering like a branch of leaves in a heavy storm, and what have you. Can I get a place to hide, please?
And then he ends up going through the latrine. The
now
same latrine.
it will come for
Okay.
because it's later on that the husband Oyo's husband comes from work, the man comes from work, and what does Oyo say? I am glad that you didn't become one of them.
Yes.
That is a strong vindication. I am glad that you didn't become one of them. Look, go in the room and see Compson almost in his clothes and what have you. Powerful.
Yeah. But Prof, I mean,
Yeah,
this is I guess the biblical story of good and evil,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and but
I don't know what others have got to say about the in the audience. Yes.
but oftentimes good is pushed by evil. But if you look at his family, they're not evil. What it is they want certain things, and that's what the teacher says to him, that they want such certain things, because when the man said to the teacher, they will destroy me, the teacher answer, or make you a big man. That's the either or. So oftentimes, coming back to the veranda boys, even in the Liberian society, when you get a job, people expect a certain kind of life from you. They don't want you to remain in the same house. Now, they don't say, oh, Jackie's been in a job for 8 years, she's building a house. You can be in a job for like 1 year. They say, but where's the woman's house? How come she's driving the old car? And I mean, I have an old car, and people say your car is old. I say, well, it's paid for. It's my car. But the
Yeah.
expectations of your cycle of friends, your family, sometimes pushes you to
Yeah.
corruption. And it's interesting that he was able to withstand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are not a lot of comments. There's
Oh, okay.
what is Liberia and Africa doing for their people to escape the coming depression, food shortage, and famine?
Yeah.
I guess grow more food.
Yeah.
Uh, um, Liberians in Africa are slaves to America and Europe. African men are cowards to allow white people to come to the continent and rule over them and their women. I don't mean, what do you mean to
Yeah,
rule over
but
them?
it's reductionism actually. To say that just it's like it's a little flippant. Sorry to say,
Yeah, but
but
there are no white people ruling over us. So I don't understand that his
well,
thing.
anyway,
If we grow our own, there shouldn't be much food shortage. We have plenty of fertile land. The oceans, rivers, and lakes are right there. Yeah, I agree
yeah,
with him. That's true. And George Freeman says, "Follow my favorite show." Thank you, George. Yeah, yeah. So oftentimes the expectations of people push us into corruption,
hmm
because we think that we have this high life that we want, and most of the time people don't have people like the teacher
yeah,
to be able
hmm
to to just little by little, because if the man had taken that little small bribe,
yeah,
then it would have been easier for him to take another bribe
yeah,
and
yeah.
another
That's how
bribe.
it goes. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
You start
but
small, and then of course it blows up to a huge size and what have you.
Yeah, but we have a few people listening. I mean, so I would like to hear their opinion on corruption.
Yeah.
That of course they will say that it was wrong for him to take bribe because he didn't take bribe. But do you think also that the expectations of family, friends, and loved ones are the ones that push us into corruption? If you have a
That's
job,
yeah. That's at the center of the conversation. The high expectation. I remember in the uh, latter part of the '90s, it was uh, Pomakpo, Chairman Pomakpo had come in, and there was some other business to deal with. And so a national conference was called. And I happened to be elected as the head of the secretariat, and Kofi Woods happened to have been my deputy. Eventually, of course, we had to kind of relinquish the position because, the cooperation that we had sought from the convening group wasn't coming in. But there is an experience that I had. No sooner had I become the head of the secretariat, there were little whispers here and there. This other person would say, I have a, thank God it's our time. That kind of statement, thank God it's our time. Uh, uh, if there's transportation and what have you, I beg you put my name on the thing there and what have you. And then I laugh it out. I say, look at this thing that is happening here. All of a sudden, even at this at this micro level, small level, people have begun to throw in their wishes and all that kind of a thing. So if someone has to be strong, that's what I want. Someone has to be strong, because if the person is a weakling, so many things can begin to go wrong almost immediately. And so if we can get something out of this novel, it's got to be, never mind the challenges that are thrown your way. Uh, if you are in a position of public trust, you've got to be able. They are saying that it will not be an easy thing to do, but you have to, there is an expression in Basa which is "Benike ji gbagba gridi, gridi gbagba." This thing that is coming, can you handle it? Okay, can you handle the flood of the river or whatever, something of that nature? And it's a question: can you handle it? What you are bailing yourself for, can you handle it? So that is a question you have to deal with. Are you stoic enough? Do you have the spine? So then, of course, you've got to dig within yourself and say, well, come hell or high waters, I think I can stand the test of time. And then in the end, the whole thing about legacy, is what you are looking for. So if you believe in the concept of legacy, if you believe, because anything can be one of legacy, but it has to be the legacy that people can gravitate towards, because it's got dignity in it, because it has integrity in it. And if you can do that, then of course you might as well roll with it. That's what I see in.
And do you think that the society, the social norms of society,
Yeah,
the one that loves this big show,
yeah.
I'm somebody, look at what I have,
Mhm.
it comes into a conflict with with uh, integrity, so there's something to be said for the society. A society that loves simplicity
Mhm.
will not push the official
Mhm.
to big show.
Yeah,
But the official, the first thing they say, where's your house?
yeah,
Where's your car?
yeah.
How come your wife wearing this old dress?
Yes.
And those things, they push the
Yeah.
official.
Mhm.
Now, like you said, the official should be able to withstand it,
Yeah.
but they come from all sides, prof. They come from all sides. It's not just, it's the mother-in-law,
Yeah.
it's the wife,
The friend.
the friend,
Yeah. Mhm.
all of them. So it comes
Yeah.
from all sides.
Mhm.
So with the Liberian society, the minute
And
you get a job,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that this brings in the concept, as you know, of what? Of worldview.
yes,
What is your worldview? And what ideas populate your worldview? And if it is not philosophy, if it is not religion, if it is not those things that pull together to give you the strength of character, then there is a problem.
yeah,
There is also the godfly phenomenon, which is drawn from Socrates, that those who have the capacity, or should have the capacity, to drive society in the right direction, they've got to be people, they've got to be a team that can maybe uh, drive society into the appropriate direction. You have the media, you have the courts, you have civic organizations and what have you. Those are supposed to be the driving force collective to be able to drive society in the right. If you have media organizations inviting social vagabonds to be the ones to deliver this and deliver that as a way, because if a media organization invites a corrupt government official to come and speak to them and what have you, the institutions elevate the stature of this person. Can we avoid those things? So the churches, yeah, the worship centers and what have you should be able to be in the vanguard, the media, schools and what have you. So those people who we hope have that enlightenment to be able to pull society in the right direction should not be in the business of giving these corrupt officials the opportunity to maybe sanitize themselves and what have you. It's like creating a social laundering type of thing where these people who may not be anything as far as good character is concerned, they are the ones now that are being pulled in. Maybe the idea is that if they speak, they are going to get $1 or $2, and therefore the media costs people like that in and what have you, and that can kind of dampen the hope of people, well-meaning Liberians or well-meaning Ghanaians, well-meaning Nigerians in terms of doing the right thing.
Yeah, one of the incidents in the book that what I read, I felt very sad because one of my friends had said that, like, some of the African delegates when they go to these European meetings, and these are meetings that things are being discussed and decided upon. They will either be shopping, the African delegates. Half of them will not come to the meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and then the people will vote. They will not be there, but when they
Mm-hmm.
come back, they will just collect the papers
Yeah.
to take it back to their country to say, "Look, I went to the conference."
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
my stipend and thing. And
Yes.
then when the repercussions are felt, then they say, "But oh, I didn't know that. But weren't you there?" So in the book, that's what he talks about. He talks about where they had this workshop,
Yeah.
and this guy is talking about the 5 stages of growth that I
Yeah.
talked about. Rostov's 5 stages of growth, and none of them are even listening. They are doing their own things. And then after the guy is done, then they started to make a joke about the 5 stages of alcoholism. The beer, you drink the beer and things like that. But he felt that it was very funny. So you're right when you say that they were not planning to take over, because what Ayekwe Ama is saying is that they just stepped right into the white
Mm-hmm.
man's shoes, and the teacher is saying they don't understand that they cannot get power unless the black man gives them power. They don't understand that they are speaking the language where they had to learn how to speak it, but they don't even understand the language that they're speaking. But we know. So in fact, listening to what's his name? Uh the teacher, listening to the teacher, it's that one that says, I think 108. If I may quickly before we go, he said let us keep quiet and not get too close to these people, right? Because that's what he said. He says let them continue what they are doing. Let them build their palaces, right? Let them and have their big cars, but let's stay away from these kinds of people.
And you can see that it's foreshadowing what is going to happen.
Yes.
Yes, what
Yes.
is going to happen? Yes, let them do their judgment day. A
Yes.
day of reckoning is coming.
Yes.
That is going to sweep them away. That's a very powerful piece of reading out
And
there.
then in the ending, when the man is in a bus going home, another bus passes by. And the way how in Liberia we write all these sayings on the bus,
Yeah.
on the back of the bus, it had that the beautiful ones are not yet born, which was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
fitting ending.
yeah.
Yeah.
Remember now that Kumson had been wished away from, because they are looking for him.
Yes.
early
And
in the morning, he boards his uh, boat, and he's taken to La Côte d'Ivoire to Estella's parents and what have you. Now the man, takes a, an inflated tire, to swim back to shore so that he will like dry up a little,
yeah,
to go home. And that is where he is now, and near what? Near a checkpoint that they have set
checkpoint.
up. The
Yeah,
checkpoint they have set up, and that's where it is. And the silly thing begins to change hands here and there,
yeah,
and the last boss that passes, and it has the inscription. Yeah, the creativity of taxi drivers and what have you, and bus drivers. They have one time Dr. Jean Martin
mm,
uh, did a paper on the philosophical creativity of public transport drivers and what have you, where they have all this, and she had, I think, 10 or 15 of such beautiful philosophical punchlines, and that's
yeah.
part of what you see over there, where the bus driver has the beautiful ones are not yet born.
Yeah, when I'm back home, I chase them. I mean, if I'm as if follow that car because I'm taking pictures of them all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, and because they are very I mean they encapsulate good wisdom
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
those things.
Mhm.
Luck pass fine.
Yeah,
They
that's
put their
fine.
luck pass
Yeah,
fine. And no food for no food for lazy men.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All of those things. Yeah. So that's how yeah. But anyway, I think that like we discussed ant hills of the savannah
Mm,
with Achebe. This book is more introspective.
yeah,
It makes you question things. It makes you I mean, even when he's thinking, when he's thinking, he's asking questions, you're almost asking yourself these questions. And like I said, that's why I guess they didn't name him.
hmm,
You don't want to name him. The
yeah,
man
yeah,
could be the woman.
yeah,
It
yeah,
could
yeah,
be
yeah.
me. It could be you,
Yes, it's
Yeah.
generic man
The
and what have
generic
you.
man,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
so I think Ayeko Ama did a really good
yeah,
introspective novel
yeah.
about what is it that we were fighting for.
What is it we're fighting for?
Yeah, what is it that we were fighting for? And again, that quote that he says, surely something could still be done by a good
Hope,
man.
hope,
You know? Yeah. Because
sense of
because
hope.
if you look at the landscape, we didn't talk a lot about it, but I wrote some down.
Mm,
Whoo, the words, eh? He says, the rubbish heap smells like you hit a strong wall.
yeah,
The rubbish has fused with the earth. Public
mm,
lavatory, the stench claws
yeah,
at your
yeah,
throat.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
He has picturesque language. By the way, just passing, he is one of those who, at the early stage of my little writing career, impressed me a whole lot, especially with the very first few pages. I read them and I just said, "This guy is super. This guy is
yeah.
super." Even though I try as much as possible to stay away from such deep, abiding filthiness of the description and what have you, but
Yeah, but it is though his use of language, the
mm,
imagery,
yeah,
is nothing but filth,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
dirt, corruption. Yeah. But
Moral decadence and what have
yes,
you. That's
yes,
what.
it's but
Yeah,
Prof, if you look at the ending
yeah,
when a guy comes out of the water and things
yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
you can almost say that it's a rebirth.
Yes,
That it's a rebirth
yes,
of the coup has happened. So
yes.
it's a new day
It's a
coming.
cleansing. It's a
Yes, a
cleansing
cleansing.
process. A
Yeah, the water
cleansing
is a
process.
cleansing. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean, when he's talking about the filth, I'm like,
yeah,
man,
yeah,
there's so the landscape of
yeah.
Ghana
Hmm.
carries the corruption through its
Yes, yes,
filth.
yes.
Yeah. So he I mean, it was yeah. It's almost like that poem that says when civilization we're going to slap us, when civilization slap us,
Yeah,
and this one is about the stench that
yeah,
claws at your
yeah,
throat, goes in your nose,
Mhm.
like you're hitting a wall.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think he did a I think the book is really good. So I would say that you guys should read the book.
yeah, get a
So
book.
yeah, closing comments, Prof.
Again, this is the power of literature we are seeing. Uh, Literature places a lot of things on the front burner. We cannot hide such things in the corner. They've got to be in the open to engage us. You know, to engage us. Yes, we may not in a short time kind of cleanse everything, but these things remain topics for us to discuss so that, like a pastor or an imam who continues to engage with the congregation, uh, the writer engages with society so that one fine day, even one person who makes a difference will be able to at least partly redeem society. So that is what it is. And again, it supports the need for uh, the uh, support reading culture that we need so that we will have a very sound conversation to hold every now and then.
Yeah, and I echo what Prof says. I mean, we've been asking you to join in the conversation, read the book that we're going to discuss, and join the conversation. Uh, when we talk about Ayekwe Ama, we always talk about conflict between the individual
Mhm.
and what's going on in the country.
Yeah.
And as Prof always says, knowledge builds onto knowledge. We discussed the allegory of the cave maybe a month ago, and
Yes.
you come into Ayekwe Aman's book, and
Yeah.
there's the allegory of the cave. In
Yeah.
great detail, he
Yeah.
explains the
Yeah.
allegory of the
Yeah.
cave. So
Yeah.
maybe, who knows, maybe next time we're reading a book, they will talk about the works. They will talk about Sisyphus.
Yeah. Maybe
So we, as we learn, we
yeah.
build on knowledge, and we
Yeah.
always say that we said that in the initial phase of this literary hour, that we're just on a journey. We ask you to come with us. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to write in the comments.
Mhm.
If we put the poster up and you can get the book,
Yeah.
read
Please
the
do.
book and have some questions ready so we can discuss.
Yeah.
We've said that there will be times when you might say, you know what, I read this book, it made an impact on me. I want to come on and discuss it. You do not have to be the author. We will invite you on and we can discuss the book. So this summer, we'll put our little list up, and then you can read some of the books, and then you can join us. But again, we want to say thank you, George. Thank you, Matt in Liberia, Demode, Aliu, all of you who are listening. Thank you so much for joining us on this gorgeous Friday afternoon. We know it's difficult, but thank you for joining us. We'll be here every Friday at 6 o'clock to discuss a literary work or historical work, uh, whatever we decide to discuss. But please join us, invite your friends, and we always say share the show. And we'll see you next week. And again, as we say, lift Liberia up. We are the rooms, Liberia is the roof.
Yeah.
Stay safe. COVID is coming back. Mask up, and see you next week. Prof, mask up, Prof.
Yes, I do. I had this thing twice, so you preaching to the choir.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, mask up,
Yes.
mask up, Prof. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's hmm.
We are Labira.
Trying to little soft.
We are Labira. We are